In Sibelius, there's something called cautionary accidentals. Cautionary accidentals are used by default whenever you have, say, the last note of a bar is not in the key signature, like we have here, B sharp instead of B flat. And then you place a new note in the next bar, like this, another B flat, which is in the key signature. It will put a cautionary flat there just to remind you that you're no longer playing a B sharp. Musically, this isn't necessary because, as you know, when you move from one bar to the next, the key signature is what rules what kind of notes you play. So if this was just shown like this, with just a B and not this accidental right here, you would still play a B flat. That particular setting is found under the Appearance tab and House Style Group Engraving Rules button. If you click on that, go to Accidentals and Dots, you can see here that you can turn off cautionary accidentals where accidental in previous bar differs from the key signature. So you could turn that off, and that way when we add a note like this, it's a B, it'll just play B, but because it's B flat in the key signature, that's the note that you would play. So that's just a warning about cautionary accidentals and how you can turn that off if you don't want that feature. Now remember, we did say that there's kind of two modes. So this is note input mode. You can tell you're in that mode by the fact that I've got a mouse that's loaded with a note ready to input, and also that the prior note is blue with a blue caret next to it. We can get out of that mode by hitting escape once. We're still in edit mode. Remember, in edit mode, there's a few things that we can do with a selected note. We can raise it or lower it one pitch at a time by using the up or down arrow keys. We can move it up an octave or down an octave by going Command and arrow keys. We can also add additional intervals on top of or below that specific note. We do that by hitting the numeric keys on the QWERTY keys. So for example, if we want a third above this, we would hit 3 on the QWERTY keys. If we want another third above that, hit 3 again. If we would like a third or any other interval below a specific note, we can select that note and then hit Shift and the interval we want below. So if I did Shift and 5, it's going to give me a perfect fifth below that selected interval. After you have added a note, just select that note, so you're going into note edit mode essentially, and then add the articulation you're looking for. You could also add an articulation to multiple notes by making a non-contiguous selection. So holding down Command and then clicking on the other notes that you would like to add an articulation to, and once you've made that non-contiguous selection, then select the articulation of your choice. Hit escape, and now we've added these 3 accents to these 3 quarter notes. Alphanumeric note input basically consists of using the QWERTY keys to select the pitch of the notes and the 10-key pad to select whether a note is a rest and its rhythmic value. So if I press on 0, you can see that 0 is highlighted here. If I press on 1, it's a 32nd note. 2 is a 16th, 3 is an 8th, 4 quarter, 5 half, 6 whole. Tie is made by hitting the Enter key. 7, 8, and 9 control this upper portion. You can begin recording notes by selecting a rest. Now you can see you are in edit mode. And then put your mouse aside and then select the note value from the keypad. So let's say I want to do a quarter note. It changes that note into a quarter note. Then all I have to do is select the note desired on my QWERTY key. So maybe I'm going to say this is an A. And it replaces that rest with an A. Now if it's in the wrong octave, obviously I can go Command and up arrow to put it in the right octave. Then I could add other notes, G, maybe D. Again, if that's in the wrong octave, raise it an octave. and continue on in this fashion. As you change rhythmic note values, you can use your right hand to select the type of note that you want next. So maybe I'm going to go to eighth note Gs. If you want to add a rest, again, you go to quarter note and then just hit rest, which is 0 on the 10 keypad. And in this way, you continue adding notes using this alphanumeric note input method without having to move your mouse around the screen. So first thing I'm going to do here is select rest and then hit quarter note and C, because I want a C note. And then I want that tied to a C eighth note, so I'm going to hit tie or enter, and then select eighth note, which is 3 on the 10 keypad, hit C again, and now I want an eighth note rest, so I'm going to go 0, and then I want 4 G eighth notes. So again, eighth note selected, so I just hit G 4 times. And you can see that it's fairly easy then to add ties or other articulations to your notes. We can add articulations or accidentals, but we have to make sure we add them before we actually select the note pitch. So, for example, if I want a quarter note and then I want it to be accented and a sharp, and then enter my note, C. Now you can see down here I've got a C sharp with an accent. If you are no longer in note input mode and you want to continue adding notes using the alphanumeric method, you can select the rest that you want to turn into a note, and then select the pitch, G, for example. And now if we want to actually add a stack of notes on top or below that, we can do that as well by, in this case, I'm going to go thirds below G, so Shift and 3, and I can add a stack of notes below the G that I added earlier. And then I can get out of note input mode by hitting Escape once and hitting Escape twice to get out of edit mode. The best process for working in Sibelius is to work adding notes in and trying to add as much information as you can while you're adding notes. So articulations, accidentals, and maybe ties.